Hi, everybody. Dee Dee Russell here with weddingvenueowners.com and the Wedding Venue Owners and Managers group in Facebook. If you're not a member, please join us on the Facebook group. We share all kinds of incredible information for wedding venue owners, from how to start your wedding venue owner to how to successfully manage over the years and, really take advantage of all of the great strategies in that group. I hope we'll see you there. Today, we have Lee Midkiff, our insurance expert, all things event cancellation, wedding insurance, not only an insurance expert, but also a venue owner. So welcome, Lee. Good morning.
Good morning. Appreciate it, Dee Dee. Appreciate you taking the time here as we enter the holidays, and love being on again.
Well, I just wanted to do a little this right here. Lee and Ventura have been so incredibly supportive of the wedding venue owners community, answering a lot of questions, doing these videos that are so informative and so helpful. If you are a venue owner and you have an insurance question, please contact Didi, D-I-D-I, at weddingvenueowners.com. I will put the information at the end. We'll also put Lee's information so that you can contact him directly with any insurance questions. I am not an expert on that, so I refer all of those questions to Lee so that we can get expert information, for our venue owners that have questions. So in jumping right into it, Lee, a lot of the same questions come up over and over again, but one consistent question comes up, and that is, and let's just tackle that for that. What is event cancellation and wedding insurance? What is event cancellation and wedding liability insurance? And why? Who should have it and why?
Let's start with the first question, cancellation. No bride, groom, wedding couple, parents want to think that things are going to go bad. And unfortunately, sometimes they do. Cancellation, to answer your question, is geared more towards the couple themselves. Effectively, as you know, and most of your venues who are watching this know, you've got a 14, 16, 18 months, sometimes even longer lag time between the time that couples start putting down deposits, they start hiring vendors, until the actual date of their wedding. One of the things that event cancellation coverage does is it starts to protect those deposits and protect things going bad. Situation, you put down a deposit with a vendor, they go out of business, you lose that deposit. As a venue owner, I've seen a lot of situations here this year of vendors no-shows on wedding days, as crazy as that is to hear. I hope I am the only one that heard that or have dealt with that, but I have a feeling I'm not. Had two in September, a no-show pizza oven for a outdoor rehearsal dinner in a hayfield. Artesian pizza oven guy did not show. I think the couple was out about $5,000 on that total, all in, for their expense that night. We were frantically ordering donuts about an hour beforehand. It's not funny. They had a good laugh at it at the end of the day. Perfect example, if you're covered and have a cancellation insurance policy in place, it would help to pick up the lost funds there. Other things too, you send a dress, you buy wedding dress, you send it off for alterations, it's lost in the mail, it's damaged in the mail, comes back with a problem, cancellation coverage will kick in there. So there are a handful of buckets that it covers, and I always encourage, from a couple's perspective, as immediately when you start giving deposits, immediately when you start engaging vendors and are actually writing checks and putting money out there to somebody else, is potentially the best time to actually acquire that cancellation coverage, because it's ultimately protecting the money that you have out there. And policies can range from as little as $7,500 all the way to, we write policies as much as $150,000 worth of cancellation coverage, depending on the size and scope of the wedding. So that's the cancellation piece. Liability, that question, it's a little bit more twofold. Many venues actually require that their couples clients have liability insurance, and effectively it sits as a buffer between everything that can go wrong on the wedding day and your core insurance. And ultimately, if there's a situation with damage to the venue, if there is a, God forbid, a drunk driving incident, or somebody gets in a wreck or causes damage on the way home, the liability coverage actually covers everybody at that point in time. And ultimately, in those situations, it is the couple who's taking out the policy, but venues are listed as a certificate holder, an additional insured, so they are subsequently covered as well. And one of the things that I like to point out to people is they say, well, I have my core insurance, but yet consistently we hear that from venues, and then we hear, wow, getting insurance for my venue was a royal pain. Okay, there's a reason it was a pain. A lot of people have different business models. You and I have talked off camera in situations of, I have a farm, I have a barn that's a venue, I have an agricultural element, I may have a lot of things going on in my venue, and that's awesome. It's why couples are attracted to things that are unique. That does make getting traditional insurance coverage, property liability, those type of things. Sometimes it can be a difficult, painstaking process, filling out some apps, going to different insurance carriers. When you think about that and you think about, well, if there is a claim that comes up because of an event, why do you want to take the risk of potentially that core insurance? They issue a claim, they pay a claim, and maybe next year they don't renew you, or maybe next year your rates increase. So liability insurance from a venue's perspective is a nice buffer against the work you've put in to garner your core insurance, and at the same time protect what's probably substantially a big portion of your assets. A lot of people have a lot of money in their venues. It's a core component of their net worth, and as much transfer of risk and layers that you can put in there, that's where liability comes into play.
Exactly. And again, every state is different. That's why I don't offer my expert insight on this, because I do not know. I do not know insurance inside and out. And so when people ask me questions, I like to just refer to someone that has that expertise and expert background. Another one of the questions that kind of ties into that is that pops up all the time is, well, I have homeowners insurance. So my homeowners insurance covers my wedding venue. And so I don't know why I would ask the couples to get their own insurance, or why would I ask vendors to get their own insurance? If I have homeowners insurance, and I think we get so much conflicting information with this, that what I want to relay to anyone watching this, do not get expert advice. It's great to get opinions and feedback and to hear some of this different information just to kind of get a knowledge about it, but do not ever accept any of that as expert advice if it does not come from someone who has insurance expertise.
Absolutely. And on the homeowners question, I'm not going to say that somebody's homeowners insurance may not cover what they do. Again, a lot of people have a lot of different models. It depends on the nature of the events that they are hosting, the situation surrounding liquor, those type of things. But typically it is your core run of the mill, I went online and got homeowners insurance, is not going to cover everything that could take place in a business environment with clients hosting weddings and so forth there as well. The other thing too that I don't think I've ever actually told you the story, and funny enough, it actually just hit me here a couple of weeks ago. We talk about who should have liability coverage as well. Look, it is important for the couple themselves. And I have actually a real world scenario that I had totally somehow shoved in the back of my mind here from years ago.
I'm getting excited. This sounds good. This sounds like real wedding drama.
So, well, it wasn't wedding drama. Funny enough, it was in a prior business that I had, legal services business. And we were at a large trade show convention in DC. At I believe it was the Marriott in Georgetown there. I had come in for the day and I'd actually flown home and left, but I still had staff there. There were some cocktail parties that night, the evening of, pretty large scale event. I get a call about midnight. My phone starts blowing up from multiple employees at this point in time. One of my employees, God bless his heart, you ever been in a hotel room where you see the sprinkler things and they have the big sticker around it that says don't hang your hanger on it?
Oh, yes.
Unfortunately, he didn't abide by that. So basically, he flooded from the third floor, turned all the sprinklers off at that hotel there in Georgetown. For some reason at the time when I got the phone calls, I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. You would think that I would be angry about it, but yet I just had this visual. I had an employee calling me who was in the bar with a bunch of our business partners. And he's like, yeah, the fire alarm started going off. We had to run outside. Here comes the DC fire department showing up like 3 minutes later. Like, little did any of them know at that point that it was their coworker who had sprung all the sprinklers in the deal. Well, perfect real world example here. We can only imagine that hotel has tons of insurance. They host events there. They host conventions there. They have people staying there day in and day out. Ultimately, who did they come after for that claim? They came after my employee, and since he was there, who ultimately we paid our full deductible, which is pretty sizable, a very solid, it wasn't 6 figures, but it was a very solid 5 figures claim for water remediation and a bunch of things along those lines. But at the end of the day, the hotel, they ultimately came after he who caused the incident there. And if he hadn't had coverage, if he hadn't been able to, if he was a sole individual that was maybe there, then their insurance probably would have kicked in. But they knew that he was there as part of a company. Yes, we did have insurance, so they came after us. I use that crazy example because there are situations, not to knock anybody's core insurance provider, but if something happens, a guest of a couple, of the couple themselves, something happens along those lines, do not be surprised when that insurance company is going to find somebody else to try to pay for that. And my example, and again, I for some reason I had stuck this away forever, but I thought it was the funniest thing, which is probably negligent as the guy running this business, because again, I just had this visual of this poor
Sometimes
kid.
we laugh so we don't cry, right?
But this poor kid ironing his clothes for the next day in his hotel room. And I say kid, he was younger, 20-something-year-old sales rep who was there, probably one of the first conventions he'd been to. Put his hanger up there, boom, next thing you know, the entire place is drowning in water. So long story short, those are the type of things where I say a couple can be, does that couple want the situation of starting day one with their wedding, of finding themselves embroiled in a lawsuit or finding themselves with a potential insurance claim, regardless of how good the venue is? You and I are here to protect the venue, and I can't stress enough that that's the most important thing. But understand that both of these types of insurance types, they do have tangible benefit to these couples for relatively what's a small amount of money. Liability insurance policy, let's just call run of the mill $150. How many tens of thousands of dollars are spent? $150 is pretty darn cheap to give you a little bit of peace of mind there.
Right, to get some perspective on it. I mean, it's not like we're asking the couples to get thousands and thousands of dollars and add super high cost expense. It's 150 or so depending on circumstances. But for peace of mind, I mean, that's incredible. And the fact that the venue owners don't have to pay for that also is huge. And I think, you know, our venue owners are so different. Their venues are incredibly different. I've toured, as you all know, close to or around 800 wedding venues. And every time I see fun things that are interesting. And then sometimes when we're on our tours, the other venue owners point some things out. We were at one really beautiful outdoor wedding space, had all of these cool spots, but the trees were starting to get long. And one of the venue owners walked right into the branch and then it snapped back and, you know, got someone else in the face. You know, things you don't think about. You're not going to run around every inch of your property thinking, how can somebody hurt themselves today? Because sometimes you don't think of it. When I was doing some consulting for a theater that, you know, we were doing events with, the theater staff came in and plugged in one of the heating elements for the buffet and left a huge coiled, you know, cord just wrapped around down there next to a rug that was flopped over, like double ways to hurt yourself as a running kid through this party. Another one that occurs to me is all of those beautiful old barns have gorgeous features that we don't want to get rid of. That's part of their charm. Right. But almost all of them have little elements that you could climb, like the interesting framing inside that's kept and it looks so cool. But I was at one this weekend and I was like, man, I'm looking through the eyes of my kid, seeing that as a ladder. T-minus 2 minutes while we're in that venue before he figures out how to, you know, climb up there and die or hurt himself or fall on someone else. And that brings us to kids, Lee. What are your thoughts on kids at the weddings and all of the liability and fear that our venue owners have when they're kids at the wedding?
Protect yourself with insurance.
God, and armor and fences everywhere and oven mitts and helmets. I mean, like duct tape them. I don't know.
It's, you know, you talk about the barn scenario. Personally, on my side, from the venue side, we have ponds, large ponds. We have an island in one of the ponds. We have a nice little bridge that goes over to the island. It doesn't have handrails on it. On any given day, if it's not a wedding, it would be great to use as a diving board and so forth into the pond, but all of those things create risk, particularly with outdoor situations where you have things like, you know, you mentioned the barn scenario. You've got trees, you've got ponds, you've got rocks. I've seen that quite frequently in your forum about people who have unique garden spaces, big boulders. Kids love boulders. We've all seen our fair share of kids stand on boulders and do dumb things. Our contracts on that side, we have a list of things that you're not supposed to do, some geared more towards adults, some that are obviously thrown in there from the kids element, some components about watching your kids. We all know in the context of a wedding that eyes come off kids pretty quickly at times. I will say on my venue side, we've done some things, and even with some private parties that I've hosted, if you know that you're going to have a large kids contingent, I actually hosted an event a number of years ago up in upstate New York, and we actually did a kids tent. It was actually pretty cool. We wheeled in some big LEDs, some gaming consoles, big chairs. They had their own little catering deal in there, but then we also mandated and brought in babysitters for all of them. So those are the type of things. Now, look, not every venue can do that. Not every couple is going to corral the kids with that. You can have it in writing, you can have eyes on the kids, but at the end of the day, bad things can't happen. And my thing is be insured as a business entity, layer in the liability insurance day of, and protect yourself as much as possible, because drunks and kids, or they may be one and the same, Dee Dee.
Oh no, drunks acting like kids. Well, I always say we'll have to do a separate one on kids, and then I think a separate video coming up, one on kids alone and all the things that they've destroyed at weddings. And that's probably, we could just do that in the last year, but then also tragically some of the lives that have been lost where kids have, gotten into those water features. Happened in Texas, happened in Virginia. So we definitely should do a separate topic for that. And then some of the solutions, like you mentioned, that some of our venues have creatively come up with to try and help the situation. But if you're a wedding couple and you're seeing this, really evaluate how you're going to manage kids at a wedding. It's a huge issue. And then the other thing you mentioned, supervised, a lot of terms and contracts just say kids must be supervised. No one knows what the heck that means. No. That's too vague and too broad. You might as well have kids can just create all kinds of chaos as a term in your contract, because kids have to be supervised means something different to everyone. And Lee is so correct in saying that eyes come off of kids. Here's the thing. I have kids. Everyone knows I have a lot of kids. Couple of things. Every day, they try to die and I keep them alive. It's the daily dance of death. They try to die, I keep them alive, and we do it all again tomorrow. And it's a thing. It ages your face and your whole life, and you learn to expect the unexpected and why someone would do a crazy thing you can't even imagine. So that's number one. Number two is when you invite couples that have kids to your wedding, they haven't slept in months. They have piles of laundry at home they haven't done. They haven't had a date night or a romantic time that was worth a diary entry in probably a year, 2 years, who knows how long. They are in a fog of fatigue and financial disaster and drain and all those other beautiful things parents go through. And then they get invited to your wedding and they get to dress up for the first time in who knows how long and go and have fun. And if they aren't there to have a date night, I mean, that's exactly what they're there for. And so their thinking is people will sympathize with us. They know we haven't had a date night in months. Let the kids run around. I see Aunt Betty over there. I see Uncle Joe. I see my cousins. My mom is here. They'll just help me wrangle the kids. That's the thought the parent has out of desperation to have a good time and have a drink uninterrupted. But everybody else there is there to enjoy their wedding. They're not thinking, oh, I'm on babysitting duty. No one told me. But that's kind of the disconnect there. And you really have to be prepared for it. And oddly enough, no one is ever prepared for it. None of the couples that, invite all of these guests that have kids, none of the family members who see the guest coming in with kids, the vendors, the venue, always wrangling kids. Venues suffer bad reviews constantly because they kept bringing a kid back to the parents. The parents get offended and annoyed, and they've been drinking probably, again, for the first time in months. And, they just get easily offended that how dare you not think my kid is super cute when they've climbed up on your restrooms and are jumping up and down on the top of the outdoor restrooms and ruining the event. Literally, that happened a couple of months ago at a venue. So it's just a liability and it's a danger and it happens so often. So we're going to do a separate video on that. But if you're a bride and groom and you're watching, or you're a venue and you're watching and you have no policies or no plan for this, it's a huge mistake. Please, please, please make a plan, have a smart plan. Don't let your plan just be kids must be supervised. That's not a plan.
Right. And one thing that I'll add with there is you have a lot of venues that meet that uniqueness that we talked about, farm properties, expansive properties. Those are the ones where kids particularly go MIA, unfortunately, because it's very easy when you have acreage, you have different locations. Do not expect eyes to be on them at all times, and particularly as the sun starts to go down. That's where, past the golden hour, kids seem to disappear in those situations.
Right. And then, if we just did a quick top 10 on some of the things, ladders, vendors requesting your ladders or your equipment to move their property. That's a liability issue you should stay away from. Chairs create a liability issue. A lot of our venue owners want to provide chairs as part of their package. It's really something they're proud of and happy to do. And a lot of times we hear somebody's weight capacity was not ably supported by that chair or the chairs. So how many people get sued in that scenario, or who gets hurt? The beautiful property the couple fell in love with as a couple who may or may not have kids or may not be thinking about kids on the property. Oh, we love the boulders. We love the vines. We love the river running through it. We love the fountain feature. We love the rocks right by the stained glass chapel. We love the farm equipment. How charming is that with its sharp edges and tetanus, rust over there and all those beautiful things. We love the stairs, the spiral staircase. Stairs are an issue, spiral staircase, doors that lock, bathrooms. Actually, we saw a post come through a week ago with a completely busted toilet. Swings are very popular for the couple. All the couples want them. They love those swing pictures. I have a venue that's saying they're getting, they're in a lawsuit or had threats of a lawsuit because somebody, what do? We put seatbelts on toilets and swings now. So there's just, then that's not even to mention the vendors, and all of that. So
dance floor edging. Dance floor edging is one that particularly we do some things where with placement within our property and so forth, when we do outdoor elements, not all ground is completely flat. Sure, you have that edge, that 45-degree edge that comes off of a dance floor that's been laid down. But that's the one that we always double and triple check, because I've seen some initial installations that have come in where you have that edge and you're just having this vision of, person in high heels, 3 drinks into the night, clips that edge at some point and creates a liability situation. So everything you said there is completely spot on. My top of the list,
right on the list at the same time, is dance floor edge. That's a good one.
That edge on the dance floor, particularly, look, if it's in a ballroom, if it's inside, you're not going to have that. But if you're doing things outside, different locations, those are the ones that anybody can trip over. That's one of the ones that I always do a double check on.
Oh, what else is a good one? The brides and grooms and the engaged couples dressing suites. We just had someone post in there, we left all our purses in there and they had all this cash and now it's missing and you owe us money. Or the card table where they have the box to put your gift cards and stuff in. A lot of couples will come back to the venue and say, someone stole from us while we were with you. And even though it's in your contract, not responsible for items you leave around, not responsible for stolen items. I really hate that this happens. This is such a nasty scenario, but you bringing an iPad, to film, events at the wedding because you're a guest and you want to do that, or your bridesmaids or your groomsmen, whomever in those dressing suites, leaving wallets or purses or valuable items. And then when it goes missing, claiming that it was a staffer from that venue. That is a really, I'm sure that's happened in the history of humanity and weddings, that a staffer did something. But most of the time, I hate to tell you this, it's your wedding party or it's an invited guest.
Or it's just, I shouldn't use the word incompetence, but personally on the venue side, we had a micro wedding last year. They drank a lot. Sometime at the end of the night, I guess it was the groom's mother, accused us of stealing her iPhone. Um, it was a small event to begin with. We're not going to steal your phone. Was adamant that we had stolen her phone. Started to absolutely get somewhat abrasive. I had some of our staff literally combing through the dumpster. Most of the trash had already been removed down to the dumpster, but we're dumpster diving at that point.
No.
Maybe it inadvertently got wrapped into something, was thrown away, so forth. Went on for an hour. She became more intolerable, threatening reviews, those type of things.
Review extortion.
At some point, an hour later, her brother calls somebody else who was still at the property and, oh, your phone's in my car. I accidentally picked it up. So those type of things. It is either the wedding party, somebody.
That is so frustrating, and it happens so oftenly. And did you get an apology? Did your staff?
No, nothing. Of course not.
So when that happens, there was another incident a week or two ago where uncle brought an iPad and was filming or something. He starts to get drunk a little bit, having a good time, nothing wrong with that, leaves it around, and his family kept seeing him leave it around. So they picked it up and put it somewhere else. And he gets completely irate. Your staff is stealing. Your staff is stealing. When I have worked at other businesses that have been restaurants or, again, theater for events and entertainment, people will bring those items, or their kids they will lose them. And then they immediately take out their anger on the staff that's at that location, claiming the staff has stolen something, claiming that, of course, yeah, I know my kid, or I left my things around, or left my purse where I wasn't supposed to leave it. Yeah, I saw the signs that said, don't leave valuables in here, but I did, and you all stole it. And I want you to give me this money back. So venue owners, please protect yourself from that. Write more language and more communication into your policies, but remind them the day of, put better information in there, and have a very nice person on staff, whomever's the on-site person, reminding people, we don't lock this door to the dressing suites, or this bathroom isn't locked. So I see a lot of people putting their purses down in here, what have you. We are not responsible for that. It's not the venue's responsibility to have video surveillance equipment. I've seen bad reviews also when guests were like, oh, I don't like being under surveillance. Well, these are the reasons why, so consider maybe doing some video outside certain locations in your property so that you're protecting yourself and your staff as well.
We won't touch gift tables. Whether right or wrong, I don't know within most of your venues what the policy there is, but when it comes to the cash boxes and things like that, we let them know frequently, because just fingers get pointed, and candidly, we have good people, but sometimes it's not viewed the same when people lose things or misplace things. So
right,
be smart about it.
Be smart about it. And just a reminder that we talk about these things not because we don't love weddings and we don't love the experience of working with our guests. We absolutely do. And yes, a lot of times nothing happens. On every wedding venue owner's working vacation, I have venue owners that say, I don't require my couples to have insurance. I don't require this or that. I don't require vendors to have insurance. Nothing's happened yet. Be thankful if you're in that situation, and cover yourself before something does. Why would you wait to have an issue or have something damaged? These things don't happen every day. They, once or twice a year, or maybe, you're lucky and it's 2 or 3 years and you haven't had an incident. But why on earth would you risk that? This is your retirement, your future, your biggest asset.
And the one big cost that I think everybody knows, but they don't talk about, is defense coverage. I think I mentioned this maybe in one of the first times you and I talked, but there was an old saying in New York, like, you could indict a ham sandwich. Well, you can sue it. The same thing applies to suing anybody for anything today. Something bad happens, you get drawn into litigation, even if you have no responsibility in it. Most states, if you're registered as a corporation, you can't represent yourself. You have to hire an attorney. An attorney has to represent the business entity. So you are looking at, even to get out of a frivolous type of claim in a situation where maybe a liability incident occurred, you're talking 5 figures to get out of that. And again, maybe your core business liability property coverage package will protect that. But insurers, look, they'll give you an umbrella sometimes, when it's nice outside, and take it away when it's raining. They don't like those type of elements. Not knocking all insurers, but there definitely you have a fair share of situations where you may not have your policy, renewed next year, or your rates may go up. If you can transfer all of that risk through a simple policy on your client, there's really, from my perspective, of course, I'm trying to sell insurance here, but as a venue owner, to me, it's a no-brainer. And look, terminology, I eat my own dog food. Okay, I don't know where that came from back in the day in the marketing side, but
I have not
you never heard
of
the
that
term
one.
you eat your own dog food?
I've never heard of that one.
I wish. I'm going to have to Google it, and I'm going to email it to you.
Lexi, I promise I will never eat your dog food.
No, but it was a thing where I don't remember whether it was a pet dog food manufacturer or whatnot. No, it wasn't that. It was, I can't even remember where it came from. But the point being is that you do what you preach. So
Okay.
if I'm, the events that I host personally at my own place, I still buy an outside day of policy. So that's that eat your own dog food. I'm not sitting here just pitching this. It's the thing
I
where,
get it. I get it.
Corporate wise, same type of thing. We have corporate parties, anything along those lines, you're going to find us buying a specialized day of policy. If I host my own birthday party for a family member, I'm going to buy a day of policy. Just because I view that I'm passionate about the belief there that it is important in the equation there. And but I'm gonna have to get you on where that originated. I'm
now we're gonna have to research
somewhere, but effectively, you're not just selling something that you don't believe in as well. You're actually, go through it on your own.
Well, exactly. And I think that, in seeing all the things that you've seen and talking to the venue owners, I know that I get a lot of calls that are desperate and heartbroken phone calls where it's too late. And I feel so much sympathy and empathy towards those businesses. You hate to see that happen. And I know however many I've heard, you've heard 10 times more being directly in the industry. So the main thing that Lee and I want to convey before we wrap up is just that we just love and adore our venue owners. We know you're small business owners. We know that you carry a lot of risk on your own and that you do so much for your communities. You create so many jobs, you create so many opportunities, you bring in so much revenue for your own markets. And for that, we thank you so much. And we just want to see you protected and secure and sleeping at night without worry of, wondering what could happen and not feeling protected at your venue. So I'm going to make sure we put all of Lee's contact information at the end of the video. If you have insurance questions, if somebody has told you something, please post in the comments. We would love to address some of the questions that you might have. If you've been declined to get insurance, if you have not been getting insurance or requiring insurance from your vendors or your couples, please let us know. If you've been getting pushback, let us know. There might be some standard responses that have been shared over the years, and in an upcoming series, we can do some counter responses for any of the pushback or issues that you're getting when you're asking your couples if it's something that you're starting, and we can help you with that. So some of the upcoming series we're going to do is, obviously a whole video on kids at weddings and, things of that nature. And then I think we should just do a top 10 of all those things you didn't realize were deadly dangerous, obviously at your wedding venue, and those things that people just can't wait to hurt themselves on at your venue. Some of the things to look out for.
Dee Dee, I'm going to ask you to add one thing there. You're great at your TikToks. I love actually the stuff that you do there. I'm picturing one of those Jimmy Kimmel like skits. We're going to get 10 kids to reenact all the things that actually they could do terrible at a wedding venue. The Jimmy Kimmel skits that I'm talking about.
Yep.
Right. That is perfect TikTok territory for you.
Well, I've got a fleet of kid actors just raring to go to earn their next allowance. It would be fun to just see. Another way for venue owners, just if you're watching this, just envision this. I always say, look through the eyes of your engaged couples when you're looking at your websites and all that stuff. But with regard to kids, it would be funny if we went into a venue and we made them put little identifiers all over the places they thought kids would go and that were dangerous, but they fixed, and that would be it. They'd have like 8 or 9. And then you unleash those kids, and those kids would go all over, and our venue owners would be like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, saying, oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think about that. Oh no. So we design our venues with our couples in mind, not to be safe necessarily for lots of kids, even though we want to. And so we just hope that, Lee and I are sharing information with you, not to make you nervous or freak you out, but just to cover yourself now. So I am going to put all of Ventura's information at the end. Remember, we have wedding venue owners working vacations coming up soon. Next is February 2022 Phoenix. Then March is New Orleans, which is going to be absolutely amazing. That's our 1-year anniversary of the Wedding Venue Owners Working Vacations. I hope that I will see you all there. Upcoming trips include Oklahoma, Lexington. We'll probably be back in Nashville again. We're going to do some on the East Coast and LA. So please go to weddingvenueowners.com and look up the upcoming cities and dates for the Wedding Venue Owners Working Vacations. If you are looking for some support and some consultation, Rent the Wedding Nerd, look up that on weddingvenueowners.com. I'm doing a few dates over the next couple of months where I'm actually going out to the wedding venues to help them get started from zero, and putting in their policies and their contracts, and then also going to well-established wedding venues who have been around for years and are hoping to get some consulting on some of the things that are giving them the greatest challenge in their roles as venue owners. So it's all been very exciting. But one thing I always take with me is my Ventura swag, so that I make sure our venue owners
sign up. We'll send them one.
And these too. We love these. These are so much fun, and they go in all the swag bags at the Working Vacation. So join us soon, weddingvenueowners.com, ventura.co, and join next time as Lee and I answer some of your questions. And again, any questions you have, put at the bottom in the comments, like, share, make sure your colleagues in the wedding industry understand insurance better with Lee. And again, I can't wait to hear your questions and your feedback, and share some stories with us. Some of the things we've never heard, we want to share your stories. I may or may not do a TikTok on that. I would love to. And we are so thankful to you, Lee and Ventura, for all the support for our wedding venue owners. You're really helping them, make sure that their risk and liability is reduced, and helping the engaged couples have a better wedding experience at their venue. So thank you so much for everything you do.
Appreciate it. Appreciate the time, Debbie.
All right. We'll see you all next time.
Thanks.